Hello again, Cancer. It's Dadhichi here from astrology.com.au with your October 2015 horoscope, an overview of what's going on for you. And if you tuned into my introduction, you will see that the theme this month, and I want to make it the theme for the next few months actually, is self-empowerment. So how is it that your horoscope and what's happening right now is going to give you an opportunity to improve yourself and to bring that to bear upon your life in as a whole, generally. The first thing and foremost is the important transit which has been going on for the last couple of years in your fifth house, which is the movement of Saturn out of the sign of Scorpio into the sign of Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius is your sector of health, disease, workplace activities, enemies, pets, debts. It rules quite a few different areas, so we have to be careful here when we're generalizing for all of you born under the sun sign of Cancer, that we don't whitewash all of you with the one brush. But suffice to say that this planet, Saturn, does have a particular role to play in life as the limiter, the planet that constrains you, challenges you, and it tells us very much where you are going to be challenged over the period of its cycle. It's a 2.5-year cycle in each of the signs. This sign of Sagittarius has a lot to do with your health. So, how to empower oneself? I guess the reverse of empowering oneself is to firstly understand and to eliminate those factors that limit oneself. And by understanding what the message of Saturn is in your sixth house, you are halfway there in terms of empowering yourself. You must admit that if you don't pay any attention to this planet and it creates discomfort, disease, poor health, lowered vitality, then to a very large extent you are going to be disempowering yourself, or you will be disempowered. We don't purposely disempower ourselves, but through ignorance or lack of awareness we disempower ourselves. So coming to grips with this particular planet is a significant challenge for you right now. And health and disease, discomfort, those sort of problems can, and what I've often found, do relate to the type of work that we are doing. We see, for example, the Sun, the Mercury, and the North Node in your fourth house. This fourth house has to do with one's inner happiness, and the Sun is a hot planet. You have the opposition of Uranus from there, and we see perhaps within yourself you have not been all that happy. So part of your task now, Cancer, is to find what it is you can do to remove those factors that disempower you. The Sun will move out of this sector on the 23rd of October. Mercury, which is retrograde, is probably also creating a sense of helplessness, powerlessness, because, often these planets will, in fact, in the Hindu system of astrology, the planets are regarded as a graha. That's the term for planet, is graha. And graha means to seize. So it's a very well-known dictum in Vedic astrology anyhow, that the planets do indeed seize you, either for good or for bad. And that often there's not much you can do about it. There are some things you can do about it. That's why I'm talking about the concept of understanding and expanding your awareness, particularly your self-awareness during this period, so that you lessen the grip of those particular planets. This fourth house of your horoscope is particularly important because we see the new moon there on the 13th, activating a lot of these energies. On the 10th, just before that, this retrograde Mercury will go forward in its motion. And so whatever communications you've had or not been able to have might be more to the point. You are going to see a distinct clearing up of that and a fresh new cycle commencing with that new moon there. Your communication should be very, very powerful during this period, and I say that expansion and that self-empowerment does take place primarily as a result of planets like Jupiter and Mars conjoining, which they are in your third house. You have to be careful that you don't exaggerate your communication at this time, or that will backfire. We see Venus also entering that picture. That will take place, let me have a look there, comes to the sign of Virgo on the 9th. So that's just prior to the full moon. A lot happening, 9th, 10th, 12th, 13th. And that lovely combination, Venus, Mars, Jupiter in your third house of communications, also travels. So this might give you a desire to travel. And what we have to do here is advise you on the necessity to be creative in the way you do that, because that Saturn most certainly is going to put the brakes on, and you have to find some sort of counteractive measures there to feel that empowerment coming through. Travel is a great way to do that, becoming self-aware, withholding your speech for the time being until Mercury goes into its forward motion. All of those sorts of things will go a long way to helping empower you throughout this particular period. Saturn in that 6th house will stabilize your work, which is very much needed for you, Cancer, because you've had that Uranus in the 10th house, which has been throwing things up this way, over that way, here, there and everywhere. So there may not have been much consistency in terms of your work, the employers, the people that you work with, the environment that you work in. So although Saturn in the 6th house can be deemed to be a little bit difficult, indicating more responsibilities for you, it does show that you can stabilize those areas of your life, very much so. The creative aspects that we were talking about on the 23rd, 24th start to lift with the transit of the Sun into your 5th house of creativity, entertainment, music, so on and so forth. On the 27th, when it comes into the when the moon comes into the full moon phase in the 11th house in Taurus, that's really a beautiful lead up to social affairs and making friends and expanding your social awareness as well during this particular period. Venus moves into the conjunction, exact conjunction, on the 26th with Jupiter. That's usually a very lucky aspect and indicates some opportunities. You know, 3rd house to some astrologers is tickets, so you might want to buy a ticket, especially with Sun moving in the 5th house. That is your second ruler of finance. You might be lucky. Could be the time to buy a lottery ticket for you. And on that note, which is a good note, let's leave it at that. I'd like to invite you back next month for a little more along these lines of self-empowerment, which, as we've just said, Jupiter is the most significant one. Communication, opening up your heart, sharing what you feel is really the secret, and stepping back and observing yourself in those moments of exchange will be one of the quickest ways for you to find that self-empowerment. So next month we're going to continue that. In the meantime, you can join me at astrology.com.au, which is my website. We're over 1 million people a month visit. I'd like to invite you there to look at more on your star sign and your friends and your relatives and work as star signs. Heaps of free information there. And again, have a safe time till I see you next. Bye-bye for now.